We are streaming and we are recording.
Does that mean live? Go live? Hey everybody.
We are totally live.
Perfect. I can only see myself and my two wonderful guests, Lisa Reese and Brian Marblehead White. Marblehead number 9, by the way.
Number 9 is important.
It is important. I'm late to the party, but we're just going to go with it. Bad audio, and I'm going to get grief because I'm Mr. Complain about bad audio, and I have a bad audio thing going on. So, starting off fresh. Yeah, it's all right. Lee's running the show. So he's driving it. I'm just hosting. We're going to get into it. I'm Brian Kellison. Quick little intro. Been cycling for probably 20 years. Online cycling probably from 2019 on. And the accolades, here you go, the accolades, right? First in my group ride. That's it. That's enough. That's all that matters, is if you win the group ride.
First, you totally win the group ride.
Totally. And when no one shows up, then you're absolutely first in the group ride. No. My accolade, we'll get to accolades, whatever. We'll get to it. I just want to introduce, let's go with Brian Marblehead.
I'm Brian White. I live about an hour south of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and kind of started cycling, would have been about 12 years ago, and been riding indoors since 2017. And that all started because of I got sideswiped by a car, and then the little kids aspect of not having to leave. So that's where I started riding inside. It started with Swift and branched out other places, and just see what's out there.
Your turn, Lee. Go.
Well, I've been riding since like 6 years old. Love riding a bike. Love riding really slow. Started indoor riding 2016 was my first ride in Zwift. Been riding ever since. Love indoor biking. Love the accessibility that it provides, and I love talking about cycling stuff. I could talk for hours, and that's, I think, what the point of this podcast is going to be.
Absolutely. All right. Enough with the intros. People are going to learn this or not. That's it. They're either going to get it or they're not going to get it. I'm just joking. Okay. Let's just go into the first topic since we're short on time because Brian's got to get to work. I forgot the time frame because we're all over the North America right now, but
must be UTC problem here.
It is a UTC. It is a time zone. We will always have time zone problems, and that's a good thing. The state of Ecycling 2023 going into 2024. I think that's a good place to start. The three of us have been talking offline, I don't know, probably the last year or so. And that's where the origin of this podcast was like, hey, maybe we can just start doing this and besides being in someone's chat, because we all stream and there's a tight-knit community. I think we as a group of the community should start transitioning from, hey, this was a niche thing before the pandemic, and then the pandemic sort of threw everyone into it, and there's people that stuck around after the pandemic, but the sport is growing even more, and I feel that there should be a state of like, where are we currently? And I want to start with where in the platform of the popular platform is Zwift, of course, but there's other platforms. There's the ones that have passed away, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But the state of Ecycling is, for me, it is a rebirth. That's where I'm going with it right now. It's like a rebirth. It's like we had the pre-pandemic sort of very small group of people that were really into it. And then we had the pandemic where everyone was into it. And then once life came back and people were outside again, now it's just sort of like, hey, I'm choosing, because of what you guys said in your intros, the convenience of it, but then the convenience, but also, hey, the competition is now getting better, and there's more options, and the racing is changing. So I'm saying rebirth.
That's a good point. Pre-COVID, I was the same borderline A, and I was just into A. And you had the same 15, 20 people in every single race. There was no more than 5,000 people on at peak time. So you raced against the same people, you knew them. I raced against Casey. He always beat me. And same with
Casey, who's Casey?
Casey Schum. Sorry, Casey Schum. He's one of the original.
I know he is, but for the people that don't know.
Yes, for the people that don't. He's live event, competed very well in all of them. And he's like the kind of the godfather of the streaming community. Him and Nathan Guerrero were some of the. I think Nathan was first and Casey was shortly later, but I know I was watching Casey. He was the first one I watched. So I kind of learned my racing from him. So if anyone wants to learn how to race, he's an excellent person to kind of learn from. So that's where, I started with Adam Zimmerman and these guys. Well, then COVID happened and you get 40,000 people on here. There's people all over the place. So, and now, the numbers have, I think, crashed a good bit. People are riding outside, they're being around more. And we don't know where this is going. So this is a good, like you said, it's a rebirth because we had an explosion, then we crashed back down. And I think this winter would kind of be a good path to see where this is going to take us with the UCI getting more involved on a different platform from Zwift. RGT had the national championships, and now I believe they are coming to Zwift, if I understood what you guys were saying in the Discord chat. So I think this will be a good year. And the biggest thing is we always need to be improving the sport, because this is what this is what we do now because of the convenience, because of the ease of it. And I don't have to travel 3-4 hours to do, a very highly competitive race. We could do it from our basement.
Your turn.
Those are all pretty good points. I think for me, what's really interesting is, Ecycling has been out for a while. So I think Zwift was in beta in 2015. And I think it's taken a long time, but I believe in the last few years, they've kind of really dialed down what kind of competitions are needed for esports. I think a lot of it was trying to mirror outside riding, which outside riding doesn't work necessarily for, exact what we're trying to accomplish indoor. And I think like with the Worlds last year where they had the Omnium, the 3 little races, I think Nationals US is going to the Omnium,
Yeah, that came out. That was an email, I think this morning actually.
And I think it's finally turning to a point of what works for e-cycling and what the even sort of spectators want to see in e-cycling. I don't think guys want to sit and watch a 4-hour outdoor type, race. So for me, I think moving forward, I'm excited to see sort of the types of competition, that's happening.
Yeah, I gotcha. It's, and I want to clarify, like e-cycling as there's casual, and then there's, I say like competitive or verified or like whatever, like elite, right? There's casual and there's like elite, but like elite is also a class for, racing. I'm just saying elite as in like people that are willing to jump through the hoops, to do the things, to do the verification, whatever the promoter does or whatever the governing body sort of suggests. That's sort of like the non-casual race where it's like, hey, I want to get a workout in, or hey, I just want a hard effort and I'll jump in like a casual race. And there's, whether it's against bots or it's against real people, the summer has ended and now it's the real time. This is why I'm saying like it's like a rebirth, it's the opportunity for a rebirth, right? So it's life has come back to normal, really. I mean, 2022 was kind of pretty much things come back to normal, but 2023 is where, all the restrictions are coming down. People are outside. People are doing the things, vaccinations, all that stuff. Now it's like, are you willing to come inside because you've been outside to actually focus and do a competition in your quote unquote off season? And that's where it's like the numbers will dictate that, right? So like the active users, the people buying trainers, the people doing the things they're doing, because there are options now. It's not just, hey, I'll come on and jump on Zwift. It's, I want to we lost RGT this week, and who I was a big fan of. I know you guys also enjoyed it, but I was a big fan of it as well. And now when there was going to be, hey, you're coming inside, there's a lot of options because options are good. It gives people chances to do what they want to do. We just lost essentially a second tier player on the e-cycling casual or competitive. So this is where it's like, this is a season where can it survive this season?
And I think what's going to end up happening is, you're already seeing this. You're going to have cyclists specialize in esports.
Yeah.
Because it is in the off season. You're not going to have a World Tour pro ride the Tour de France in Paris-Roubaix and then be like, oh, I'm going to put in a hard indoor season. That's their off season.
But
so you're going to get these opposites of, guys that strictly, this is what I do. I do indoor.
Yes, but I'm not saying like World Tour pros will probably not do it, right? But you have people going longer. They're doing year-round fitness. Like if you look at the cyclocross people that are, so instead of doing cyclocross, there's esports now for one, like Brian was saying, is his safety, and he has children. It's like, hey, I used to do cyclocross or whatever. Now the convenience of doing e-cycling, I'll maintain fitness through my off season, right? That's something that could be used to promote this sort of season. This is the winter season in North America, Northern Hemisphere, excuse me. What do you think, Brian?
No, I agree with that. The availability of getting on, doing your workout with people all across the world and pushing yourself is something that's going to be very, very interesting to see how more people do this as it becomes more programs, whether it's MyWhoosh, Indie Velo, and Zwift, and Crank Up as these evolve. I think a big part of the attraction, and maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but like I can get on with other people that are better than me to push myself to get to that next level. Like if I'm racing cyclocross, Zwift I think is perfect for that. If you decide not to sit in and sprint at the end, if you decide to push the pace and attack and get those efforts in, and it doesn't have to be on Zwift. Indie Velo's bots are excellent with responding. So it depends on what you want out of it. If you don't want to just get on and do an erg workout and, go home. But I think that's a big part of the draw for people to be year round and become that indoor specialist, because it's a specific set of skills where riding for 4 hours and then doing a 20-minute effort up a climb, that's not really a thing in Zwift. Obviously it's a benefit if you can do that, but an hour race where you go full gas for maybe 20 minutes of that on and off, do some attacks, hold some threshold. I think that's a big part of what year-round, like you said, the year-round fitness will be a big part of it.
I think the original pack dynamics in Zwift was very cyclocrossy. It was attack, ride as hard as you can for 45 minutes. There was no draft. It was just go as hard as you can. And I mean, for me, indoor kind of took over from cyclocross. I love cyclocross racing. I hate mud. I hate rain. And I really, really wish cyclocross was in the spring or summer because I love the format of cyclocross racing, but I hate destroying my bike every Sunday to have to wash it, clean it, and repair it all week to go and like destroy it on Sunday. But I find indoor definitely fills that gap.
Okay, so you bring up a good point about the previous pack dynamics. This is something we wanted to touch on anyways, which is the new Zwift pack dynamics, 4.1, right? So this leads into the tail end of the state of e-cycling, right? What are the things that, or what is the one thing that you think is necessary for the people coming back? Let's say the people are like, hey, it's a rainy day and I'm coming back for maybe 1 day or 2 days. And then there's people that are coming back because they are done with their outside and they want to do inside. And then there's people that are strict indoor. They only do indoor. They're not even outdoor, right? They're like, hey, I've been on this thing, but I've been casual or whatever. What is the one thing to keep or to bring people back and keep them thinking about, hey, this is the rebirth or whatever the state? Like, what's the one thing that you think needs improvement or is good enough? And that's the thing that's going to be good for the future of the sport.
I think pack dynamics is a weird one. I mean, all three of us have raced outside, and there's a lot of people that have raced outside. And I think we push our feelings of how it feels outside into a video game where there is a ton of people on Zwift who Zwift is their first form of racing or indoor cycling. They have never raced outside ever. And they have no preconceived notion of what a pack should feel like, of what even a race effort should feel like. So for them, I think getting into Zwift, they're like, oh yeah, this is indoor racing. For us, we're like, man, this is brutal. This doesn't feel real at all. Where now the pack dynamics are shifting to more realistic, and you hear the huge grumbling on social media being like, this is hard now. This isn't racing. Like, it's shifting. Like the outside people are like, yay, this is feeling good. And all of the people that have never raced outside are like, this sucks. I hate this. I just want to sit in the pack, and sprint for the finish and get a good workout in. So there's this weird dynamic. And I think that's what leads a lot of people to games like Indie Velo that is very focused on the feeling of the game, of a more, simulation realism.
Yeah, in the spring, well, I guess it was last winter, when I was invited to the beta of Indie Velo, I was excited because Zwift, I was bored of Zwift racing. Like, I didn't do the ZRL. Like, I was just, I was riding Zwift because I didn't have to ride my little loops like on RGT. I know Brian and I joke about that a lot, but Indie Velo had interesting physics. I didn't have to ride in a loop. I could explore, take different turns, and it had good dynamics. And then you fast forward to I think August, maybe end of July, beginning of August, and they updated these pack dynamics in Zwift. And I wasn't subscribed to Zwift for a couple months, and I came back because it felt good to me, who had raced outside, and it was more interesting. And just like Lee said, pace partners were slower, like people just over the top with, this guy went out the front, he's cheating or whatever. Like, this is how things go. You get a gap and you have to chase me back. You can't just sit back there and do 2 watts per kilogram and, chase someone down doing 4.5 off the front or whatever the number may be. So going off that, we like it because we raced, but the general public coming in for the first time, or even maybe at the you know, the was here at the spring and then come now, you're going to get people that's like, whoa, what happened to Zwift? This is so much different, but it's more realistic. And that's something it's a fine line. I don't know how we balance that.
So is it good that if, because I was talking, I can't remember who I was talking to about the way that Zwift has moved back. Like they went their direction wherever it was, but now they're sort of working back to simulation. Obviously they have the game stuff, like the power-ups and different things like that, but is this the sustaining thing to go, hey, we want it to be more simulation-like? And people that are coming back are gonna have to relearn, which might be frustrating, but it might be better to go, hey, I learned the old way and now I have to learn the new way. The people that are naive or innocent, or excuse me, ignorant in their understanding of what racing is it then the mentality that needs, so it needs to be explained by Zwift, or it needs to be explained by IndieVelo? Like, this is our approach, like our goal is this, and then that's the sort of thing. I think it's supposed to be, I think it should be explained in a sense that, hey, this is our direction, this is what we're trying to do. I think they're doing that. Sometimes I don't read all the updates on why they're doing theirs. I did the tests of the 4.0, and it felt like Zwift. It always feels like Zwift to me, right? It's not like it's super changed. Like RGT felt like RGT to me all the time. IndieVelo is sort of Zwift. It's like a Zwift clone, and I don't think that they're trying to, like, from what I understand, they're not trying to replicate Zwift, but they have a lot of Zwift tendencies. And there is, which is like simulation. Like Zwift was trying to simulate an outdoor ride while you're stationary. Same with other platforms. So is it the mentality, or is it the physics that we need to say is, or this is what I'm saying, is time will tell what sticks for people. But I think it is you do it from a developer standpoint. You make the game the way it is, and the people that are into it will stay with it, and then there's people that will leave with it. If they don't want to come back, like, this is not what I expected before. Whether they're inside or outside, it's like new people that have never ridden outside. If you're coming to the game, you don't know that you don't know.
Yeah. No, I think the mentality is what will drive people to stay or leave. I think that'll be the force of what it is. Like how you are expecting something and how you receive it, that'll decide whether you try something else or you come back tomorrow to do it. And then what may happen is they try Zwift. Like, yeah, I'm not really into it. And then we go to, say, Crank Up. It's like, okay, that's not it either. And then IndieVelo, I don't know. And then they might just come back to Zwift, because it may take that trying the other platforms to see, what it is that they are looking for. And Zwift has a lot to offer. Other platforms are building. And like RGT, they kind of knew what they were. They stuck in their lane. They had good physics. They did their thing. But unfortunately, it just didn't have the people to be the mass success. Because people,
there's a lot of speculation on why RGT has gone, right? We don't have the official reasoning other than what their official statement was. And I think I have a screenshot of it, or we can go back and look at my stream that I streamed the thing where it finally finished. And you want to touch on? Well, we can go to that. Let me find my stream here real quick. What was the statement here? Pardon me. Fill some time. Any questions from the chat? Let's see here.
Something that I haven't tried was my whoosh. I'm really curious about this. I've watched you, Brian, on it. I'm curious of what it's like, what it feels like, and I kind of understand the money side of it is why they chose to go there. And I don't know of anyone that rides my whoosh except for one local guy, because he's a very frugal guy that it's free
It's free.
and there's no limitations like RGT, because he tried that and it's like, oh, I want to do this, but I can't. But my whoosh, it's there, and he does
We'll
it.
get into
He's the
that.
only one.
I have a story about my whoosh, but
Okay.
so I'll read the statement. This was on RGT when you launched it after they shut down the servers, which is Wahoo's vision is to build the better athlete in all of us through our world-renowned Kicker Smart Trainer range, Element GPS devices, connected fitness products, and software. To deliver the best experience for you, we have made the strategic decision to focus on our long-established strengths around structured training, content through system, and have closed RGT as of October 31st, 2023. So, from that, what do you take from it, Lee?
I think they're going after Trainer Road. Is what, as far as with system, I think they're moving into that space because they've attempted to take on Zwift. That didn't work so well. Now they're partnering or seemingly partnering with Zwift. Well, where can they steal subscription? They already have. System is pretty awesome already. Where can they go? They can start stealing subscriptions from Trainer Road, really.
Yeah, I mean, that's their challenge. Yeah. System
I'll
offers
say
a lot.
this. I've tried System and I've done Trainer Road. I mean, the option to watch a video, even if it's about some Afghanistan women's cycling team or whatever it was, it kept my interest. It kept me something. Didn't really know anything about it, but there was something to it. Then you got the Sufferfest videos where you're watching that. In my opinion, Trainer Road, for me to do it, I have to have something else going on. I can't just get on and watch the blank screen as my little line goes across the interval.
Right.
So if I didn't like Zwift, if I didn't like anything else and I was going to do something, I have a local friend like that he does system and that's all he does.
Yeah.
And he's only doing Zwift now because he got a year membership for free for having the annual thing with system.
Yeah.
But
so let me jump in just because we're going down the system road and it's about the RGT, right? So they chose to stop RGT. And I think Lee's right, as we talked about this. The competitor with System or Sufferfest, previously Sufferfest is now Wahoo System, is the Trainer Road people who are, I don't want to race online, I just want to train. With what System offers, like all three of us have said, it's good. It's a good value because it actually has, System has off the bike stuff. It has mobility, strength, yoga, all these other things, and the videos. I actually did one of the video rides, one of the pro rides, and it was cool. The thing with RGT is they had something that was, yes, a competitor to Zwift, but it didn't have the incentives of the majority of Zwift people. Like the people that ride on, like Zwifters or whatever, there's the casualness of it. There's people there, like people like people. And so if you're riding with people and you see other people, you're like, oh, I'll do this group ride or I'll do this pace bot sort of thing. The thing about RGT for me is it was the best feeling for me. Like it felt the best, like its physics felt the best to me. Now I'm biased because it's my opinion, but I think there's other, like you guys, how did you guys like the feeling of RGT?
I love RGT.
Yeah, I'll answer Alan's question. I don't think System uses AI. I don't think it's adjusted. I think it kind of gives you your workouts and go.
Yeah, I don't think currently that, I mean,
you have to do that 4DP test, which isn't fun, and then it bases your workouts on that 4DP test.
That 4DP test, the development, I think that was Neil Henderson, the guy who's the coach. He's no longer there. Yeah, it's a great test. It sucks and it's hard, but when you actually do complete it, you feel really accomplished. Like when I did that after doing those 3 other tests, like you do 2 sprints, then like a 5-minute effort, I think it was, and then you do the 20-minute
like a race.
Yes, whatever. It's like a race. It's like 2 sprints. Oh no, it's 2 sprints, a 5-minute effort, 20-minute effort, and then like a 10-second all-out max. And it really gives you an insight of like who you are, right? If you kind of already know who you are, yeah. But
and it gives you metrics based on your fatigued state, which
yes.
a lot of plans don't do, where it's like, hey, that last 10-second sprint, the first 10-second sprint you did was 1200 watts. The last one was 8. Like, this is your curve, as you fatigue. This is what we need to work on.
I've done it. You've done it, Lee. Have you done it, Brian? The 4DP?
I have not done that one. No.
Okay. Regardless.
No, I got a month of trial of it. Maybe once if it's still valid when I get done with my surgery rehab, I might try to see what it gives me.
Yeah. I don't like testing and I don't like structure, but when I have to do it, which I'm going to start doing it again, the system when I was doing system, I did the pro ride. I did a women's pro ride where they have like a person in the radio and they kind of tell you, and they give you video where it kind of looks like you're doing what you're just replicating the race of like, hey, this attack or this breakaway. But even the 4DP and the other stuff, it's very satisfying. Now, I liked RGT, so it was tough to do. They were too segmented. That was the thing, is I think the plan was Wahoo was going to merge them, and they never got to merging them. And I think it would have been much better for them to merge, but it probably is too difficult, and they just couldn't do it.
Yeah, you're right. It seemed like two separate entities living in the same house that didn't talk to each other. That's kind of what I got out of it. But for me, get back to the RGT, I like the physics of it. I liked the racing. I enjoyed it. It felt realistic. And I like 3R races. I like the mass start races. RGT, I have mass start. Okay, I know Brian. He's good. I don't know, I forget some of the names. I know Brian, you know, but Stefan and some of these other guys.
Yeah, we had some regulars on our thing.
I knew their strengths, but some of these other guys would pop in. I had no idea. And the same with me. They didn't really know me because I wasn't there all the time. But we started together, and I did, if I wanted an all-out 30-minute effort, one day I beat Brian because I just went 4.6 watts out of the pen for the whole entire race, which,
I wasn't expecting that, actually.
Right.
Yeah, you beat me. I couldn't catch you.
Yeah. And then other races, you try attacking. I know Brian's going to wait because the course suits him more than me, but everyone else, I don't want to get caught. I keep going, and I'm able to keep that gap. At one point, Brian is absolutely just, I don't know, 600 watts, crushing it, and he can't catch me. He's making ground, but he's not going to catch me by the finish. And that's exciting. So I enjoyed it. I am sad to see it go because I know watching some of the Echelon and then the more attended races, it seemed very good races. And I think I did several hundred, I think they were the Grand Fondo series. I forget who put them on, but they were good. They were fun. There was 100 people there or more, and I could ride as hard as I wanted. People were in front of me. I could take it easy and ride the group in. So it's just unfortunate that those people weren't there consistently.
Yeah. And that's it. Let me bring this up. Or Lee, you want to talk about RGT? Give your last thoughts on it, or?
I didn't race a lot in RGT. I enjoyed the times that I did race in RGT, and actually, they put on some really good events, and those were probably what I enjoyed with the most. The Sunday morning Fondo series, and I found RGT did a good job of putting on some longer races, which I think is needed. I mean, I don't have a lot of free time, but I do enjoy some of the longer, 1.5, 2 hour rides. Yeah. I don't believe there's enough of those in Zwift. I mean, there's a once a week 160K thing.
There's few and far between.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, but there's never on the time when I need it. The RGT ones always ended up being 7:30 a.m. Sunday morning, where I'm like, sure, why not? You know, I can do 7:30 Sunday morning, but I can't do 8 p.m. Friday night. I'm going to bed.
That was the thing. Go ahead, Brian.
Oh no, That's my biggest complaint about Zwift is like I got to do 2 races or time it like I got, all right, I'm going to ride for an hour zone 2 or do a workout and then do a race, just trying to get that bigger, longer, harder effort because so few races are more than an hour. Like Zwift has such a focus on the short races, and I know they're there, but like Lee said, they don't always. Very rarely do they work out where I can hop into it in 2.5 hours to do a 100K race.
I don't know how a program can have so many races all at the wrong time. Like they're all like, I mean, there's a race every 15 minutes and I go through and I'm like, nope. Like,
That's the thing is
this one looks good. Oh, it's 2 in the morning.
Is it more that's better? Because there's options. Like there's races now, the Tour of Watopia is going on. And that was the thing is like there were races, there were events like every hour on RGT. They didn't pollute it with their own events. Like Zwift has its own events. RGT had its own events that were set up by RGT. Then people could do their own events with Magic Roads and their own promotions and stuff like that. And those tools even got better and better and better over time. But the people, you could go in and race bots. Now, we're complaining about Zwift, but if there's nobody in those races with Zwift, like I've hopped into races and there's like 1 or 2 people, and then they just poof, drop out. So,
I thought they talked about getting rid of those races. They're still there.
I haven't seen it. Yeah, because there was one I jumped in the other day and it was like 2 people, like 1 person for the A's, 2 people for the B's.
I don't know where it stands. Lee's right. There was, if you don't have more than say 10 people or whatever, there was a number, and they were going to chop those events off. Group rides, they were leaving alone, but races, they were trying to clear that up, and I haven't seen that actually happen because you're still getting the same races with 2-3 people in them.
Right, and even if they do clean that up, if there's nobody there, are those people just going to find other races or whatever? Like, I think they are getting cleaned up because I'll do, like I did this yesterday. I race later in the evening. I do my stream later in the evening. And then I go to the racing category in Zwift, and there's nothing. There's nothing populated. So as soon as the 8 o'clock Pacific, it just doesn't have anything. It says like, hey, if you want to do other stuff, they're just gone. Now, stuff leading up to that, I don't know. But that was just trying to go back to RGT because I do want to finish up and I know Lee talked to me about this. The first time I tried RGT was 2020, right? December of 2020. It was like late in the pandemic year, and I was actually frustrated with Zwift because I was doing the first season of ZRL, Zwift Racing League for anybody. I was doing it with my team, Penn Velo, and we only had 4 people for a team of 6 or however many people. Yeah, 6 people the first time you ever did it. Yeah, we only had 4 people, and we did 10 races. So it was 10 weeks, and we were doing TTTs, team time trials, every other week, and we were just getting destroyed. But I mean, I was putting out crazy amount of effort just to kind of do it, and I wanted to be better. I wanted to be more team oriented and do more team stuff. So I was like, hey, let's practice. How do we do the algorithm? Sort of like the RNG of Zwift. And then I was like, seeing that it was client side, and I was frustrated that what I was seeing was different than my other teammate. Because I would say, hey, come on, hey, I'm coming on your right because I slowed down or I'm going through you or whatever. You had to phase through people. And then I saw a video by Jonathan Crane in my algorithm, and it was talking about RGT. RGT and what's the difference between RGT and I'm like, what is this? And that's how I got introduced. And they were still doing the first season of Echelon Racing League on Zwift, or excuse me, on RGT, and it was a 2-app system. And I did a crit, and I was blown away by the concertina cornering. Like it was strung out, and it felt like I was actually in a simulated race. And that blew me away. Now I got dropped like a bad habit coming off the back of it. But that is my fondest memory of any e-cycling. Any e-cycling is that, where I was like, oh my goodness, this game at least feels like a corner, like it feels like it's being strung out, like I would do a crit.
Yeah, you're right. Like some of the races, the NorCal races, I haven't done a crit, but I've been in some lap races, you know what I mean? They were like, I think an 8-mile loop, you know what I mean? So we got strung out in the corners and things like that. So that was my only experience with a crit style race, but I can see what you're saying. Like it was similar. Like you did have that, grouping and you have to sprint to get on.
Mm-hmm. Now, Brian, you got to go to work, but
Yes.
You let us know when you're done and we'll wrap this up. But Lee, do you have any, what about I think that was your first, you had a similar experience.
I think, yeah, mine was totally the same as yours. Like the first time I ever did a race in RGT was a crit. And it was just like the light bulb went off, was like, wow, this feels exactly like the last real life crit that I rode in. People were grouping up, people were attacking, people were sitting in, like resting. I mean, the group wasn't going super fast. They weren't chasing. If you didn't chase, you didn't catch, the group that was ahead. Like simple as that. Like it's just, there was tactics involved. And coming from Zwift as a low level Zwift racer, every race I've ever done, even against people in my own category, just felt like a 100% TT effort.
Yeah.
And then going to RGT, it was like, there was actually some strategy. Like I could sit in and recover and then bridge.
Mm-hmm.
Where like, and I don't get that with Zwift, which was weird because how do you put people that are classified as a C? How is everyone doing 300 watts for 40 minutes the whole time? Like it made no sense. Like what is going on here?
Yeah, it improved over time. I remember those first couple echelon races where I got popped right out the back. I'm like, oh, this is like, me just getting shelled, right? Then you come back, you're like, I want more, right? It's kind of like with a group ride outside, excuse me, or even a Zwift race, like when you're first ready, oh, this was a great experience. Now, over time, when it continually happens, because the pack dynamics, what you feel it should be, it is not. And that's where I would get frustrated with Zwift as well, as I was getting dropped on all these, obviously I'm a bigger rider, so I'm getting dropped on climbs, and I'm like, how am I barely hanging on in this game? Because I'm relating it to outside. Right? It's not because I want simulation. There's people like, oh, it's Zwift. Like there was teammates, even Penvelo teammates. They're like, oh yeah. You got to do this. You got to stand there. And I'm like, okay. But when you don't have another thing to kind of reference, like RGT and Zwift, and I would go back and forth, Zwift, RGT, and I even tried Cade Sport, and I tried and then my whoosh, and I know where we were talking about my whoosh, and I can get to that story next. But the thing I want to move on to is the way the RGT was improving was not being seen by people because of their first impression, or hey, I came here and it didn't look like I wanted it to look like, or it felt weird, or I was a smaller rider and the physics didn't work for a smaller rider because it was all at watts, there was no CDA. But I think the thing that sort of just the nail in the coffin or the death knell of RGT was the mandatory lane changing, positioning, steering that forced everyone, you have to steer. And it just sort of like, and I brought this up when it happened, and Lee, you were very supportive of what I wrote, which was it's on the Wahoo forums if you want to see it. We lost our flow. Like there was a flow with RGT, just like a flow with Zwift and a flow with any other Ecycling platform. Is we went from, the blob and the thing ever sticking together, but then everyone kind of splintered away because people were just trying to pick lanes and there was no fear of crashing. And that was where people were like, I can't do this anymore. And we had a lot of people that were loyal RGT people, they had to leave. They're like, I can't do this. It's no longer fun. I'm not even going to spend the time to learn it. And they were out. Now I spent time to learn it, and it still needed, like, I still believe it still needed the hybrid thing.
Yeah. I hate to wrap this up, but I got to leave here in 8 minutes.
Okay.
So
All right, we'll wrap it up. Okay,
that was
that's
good.
it.
I mean, that was a very good point about what you're saying about the steering and then that and everything. Because I don't know, I didn't like the steering because you had to be competitive, and I didn't have steering, so I had to use the keyboard. But it also made it a benefit to steer, and it made it more engaging to steer.
And this is why I bring up the positioning thing, because I brought this up in an IndieVelo post, and I talk about it with the new Zwift Plays, and we'll get into this into another podcast because we're going to wrap this up. But steering is not really steering. Steering in like GTA 5 bike mod, that's steering, where you can just ride anywhere you want to go up a mountain and, whatever. But like, we're positioning because it's lanes. Zwift has its own sort of thing. My Whoosh has its own thing, and I'll finish with the My Whoosh thing, and then we'll wrap up and say goodbye, because I know you get out of here. So My Whoosh, right, has positioning, but it also has that sort of hybrid thing where it brings you back. Like, you can steer with the keyboard. I don't know if they're going to support devices anytime soon, or if they do, but you can steer with the keyboard, and it kind of moves you a lane. You take a tighter lane, but then it within like 10 seconds or so, it brings you back to the middle, kind of like Zwift, where you can kind of move around and it kind of floats you around. And it's a hybrid of, we're going to kind of group you together because we're going to keep you on rails, right? And that's the learning curve that I want. That's one of the next phases of the competitive side, is positioning and doing that, because I do think it's beneficial. But the controllers need to be good. The ability for other people to have access to it, because I guess there's a distribution problem, which is another topic for another show. Yeah. But let me get to the My Whoosh thing. So Barney was testing, James Barnes, everyone. James Barnes is a South African Worlds competitor. I think he got 5th in Worlds. Is that correct? Lee, you got to look that up. Go to the notes. So James Barnes is testing My Whoosh, and the reason why he's testing My Whoosh is because he's a world champion competitor. So to compete in the World Championships, which is now My Whoosh, he's now testing it out because he needs to know it, not because he wants to learn it, where I was testing it out to learn it. And so I was helping him with direct connection and all that stuff. So you have a casual friend that's checking it out because of a budgetary reason. Well, now you have a elite competitor having to learn another platform. There are sticking points, and we've talked about it. He and I have talked about it. I've talked about it publicly. There's a lot of yo-yoing, and there's some delay in the thing, and they're improving. So they just did a recent update to improve things. But this is the part of the casual versus competitive, right? The competitive people will do the things they need to do the race. So that's why it's an e-cycling sport, or e-racing, or e-cycling racing, whatever we want to call it. You'll jump through the hoops. You'll do the things, you'll learn My Whoosh. You'll learn Zwift. We used to learn RGT, right? I spent a lot of time in RGT. What I've learned is there are 2 different kinds of people, or there's multiple kinds, but most people are, hey, casual, just want to not stare at the wall, don't want to look at Netflix, so I'll pay $15 or whatever it is in your region for online racing or online riding, and I'll do a race or whatever. And then there's people like, I'll do whatever it is to be the competitive edge, right? That is what I think is the rebirth. The rebirth is trying to get the racers to be more invested in it, and then they kind of get that casual rider. And another topic for the future is broadcasting that competitiveness. So that's what I learned. I learned that there's, like I said at the beginning, there's casual and competitive racers.
Yeah,
and riders.
I definitely think that there's a lot more casual riders
Oh, of
that
course,
won't
of
go
course.
to that, competitive. And then like once you're competitive, like you said, to go through the hoops, there's even more select few of those that will go through the hoops to do those other programs.
And do the hoops and know the hoops are correct, because there's also like people that are helping create the hoops, like George. I can't remember his last name. George from Indivello, but even Dean Cunningham, who's a restart. He helped develop some of the protocols. Right, there's because My Whoosh has its own verification. RGT had its own verification with Echelon Racing League. And then Zwift Grand Prix has their own verification. So like there could be a unified way to do this, along with, hey, this is sort of thing, because the trainers act a certain way, and this is a long-term discussion, but yeah, like people will jump through the hoops. Sorry to cut you off, Brian, but yeah.
Oh, you're good. Now we got to wrap her up because it's
You
a
gotta
little
go.
late for me. Yeah.
All right, I was late. My apologies. We'll do this another time and another day. Any final
But
thoughts?
you gotta make the wife happy and get that bathroom done.
Oh yeah, it's all done. I got to do just one thing at drywall. Get out of here. I'm gonna jump on the bike now, so you're gonna watch me stream for after I walk the dog. So
That's what I'm doing next. That's
yeah, we're gonna do that.
getting the family some food because everyone's been bugging me.
All right. Thanks everyone for the first episode of the Spincast. I've been your host Brian Kelson with this is the outro music. Where's Beats? Beats, play the music right now. There we go. No, we don't have music.
We definitely need to commission some beats.
I'll hire Beats for some beats. Brian White, everybody. Thanks for hanging Marble.
Hey,
Check him out on twitch.tv/marblehead9 and Lee Zavries, twitch.tv/Zavries, and all the other socials, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
All the
Okay.
others.
If you don't want it, follow us on Strava. Give us a hard time. I'm going to go try to win the group ride.
All right. Good luck.
Win
Thanks,
it.
everybody. Have fun
Coffee
at work,
stop.
Brian. All right, coffee stop.
Coffee
Yeah,
stop.
no more jungle. All right. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Take you
See
later.
ya.
Bye.